In this video, I'm going to replace a leaky top for a toilet. So what we have here is the supply line coming out of the wall. There's our on-off valve here at the end of the water supply line, and out of it comes the pipe up to the toilet, which supplies the water to the toilet. Now what has occurred here is that I was replacing the flooring. I ripped up the flooring around here and there was no leaks, and like anything else in life, a lot of times if you leave something alone it'll be fine, but I turned off this tap in the process because I was working around this toilet, and that was fine. Now when I turned the tap back on, it started to leak, and I have verified that the leak is within this tap itself here. It's in this part, so it's not like it's up here or anything like that. So this has got to be replaced. Step one of this process is I'm going to turn off the water supply to the toilet, because when we go to remove this hose here, we don't want any water up in the toilet coming down, and we'd have about, well, I think this is a 3-gallon toilet, 3 gallons of water there. So we're going to turn off the water supply, and then to drain the most of the water out of the toilet, we're going to give it a flush. Get this light out of the way here. Doing renovations in the bathroom, so see if I get that light out of there. Now, to verify that the water supply is indeed off, take the cover off the toilet, look down into it, and still see some water there. So I'm going to give that another flush. And as you can see, hopefully you can see, I'll move that light over here again. When you look down that toilet, which is nasty looking, but that's another part of this process, is this toilet's going to be replaced here. It's empty, so it's not refilling, so that verifies for us that the water supply to the toilet is indeed off. The tools we're going to use to do this job are pretty basic, nothing really expensive here. I've got a tube cutter to cut the 1/2-inch copper pipe, the supply line. This particular little unit I got on sale, that was $5. Normally tube cutter, I think I got a good one, probably a little bit better than this one, but this will be fine for, I think it was like $14 or so. A little bit of sandpaper to clean up the end of the pipe, and here's the key to this job right here. These things are fantastic. They're push-on fittings for plumbing. A couple of years ago, if I was doing this, I would have had to cut the 1/2-inch copper pipe in order to put on this new valve here and solder it in place. I actually did a video on these. I guess they've been out for a number of years, but I only discovered them very recently, and I did a video on how to use these push-on fittings. What happens is you simply push this on the end of the pipe, and amazingly enough, it takes a good leak-proof fit. So if I was to do this a couple of years ago, I would have had to cut that pipe, put a top on, solder it, which I was never very good at with as far as plumbing goes, and then we would run a pipe from the tap up to the toilet. But right now this is all one unit, marked on the package. If you're looking for it, you get your stats right on the package when you're at the hardware store. 1/2-inch, so it goes on the 1/2-inch copper pipe, and it's a toilet flexible connector. So this is all built in one nice unit, and this was under $13. So this is a pretty cheap job here. That's the prices in Canada anyway. I imagine it would be comparable elsewhere. So basically, as I say, we got this unit and our pipe cutter, bit of sandpaper to clean up our connection. So we'll start that job. Set of gloves are a good idea too, and have some rags handy to sop up any of the water. Okay, so we're going to want to loosen the connection to the toilet up here, and also the end of that pipe down here onto the copper water supply line coming out here. Now I've got an adjustable wrench, or you can find a proper size wrench. Unfortunately, because of limited space here, I'm not going to actually be able to tape this as I do it, but what I'm going to do is hold the pipe here, and then I'm going to gently start to put pressure on the adjustable wrench, turning it counterclockwise. I'll be pulling it this way to loosen it off. Then, as you would look at the toilet from the bottom, it'll be counterclockwise to loosen this off. Now these will generally loosen finger tight. As a matter of fact, I might be able to show that right now here. Let me just see now. Actually, this is always the confusing part when you're not looking face on towards a fastener that you're loosening. So, okay, it's going to be this way, and it actually is. I'm able to loosen that with my hand there. So loosen that off, and this nut down there. So if you have the same type of setup as I have here, I've loosened off that nut that's right under the toilet here. That pulls away. You'll see the pipe in here where it feeds up into the toilet. The nut down below, that's been loosened off. As I said, as I loosened these, I carefully held the pipe so as not to put too much pressure on it as I did it. So now we're just going to have to gently raise this piece of pipe here that goes into our tap, because it's seated down in there. So I'm just going to put very small amount of pressure, push down on the pipe just a little bit, and up on this pipe to release it from there, and I'll gently pull it down at this point away from the toilet and move it to the side. And that's the water I was talking about. That's going to come out of the toilet. So that's there. And now should be able to release that from excuse me, our water supply line. Now here's the key. At this point, I've taken some sandpaper, cleaned it up there so it'll be easy to cut that with our tube cutter. But at this point, we have to turn off the water supply to the house, or at some point beyond this. If you have a point where there's a point where you can shut off the water to this toilet without turning off the water to the whole house, that's fine. But right now, we've only turned off the water to the toilet. We're going to cut this pipe back here, so we have to make sure that the water is actually off to the house. So however you do that, I'll just show you as an example. I'm just going to turn this on a little bit, just so you kind of remember what we're at here. So you'll see the water coming out there. All we've done when we turned that tap off was turned off the water to the toilet itself. So anyway, make sure that you kill the water beyond this point. Okay, I've shut off the water supply to the house. Now, because this tap at the toilet is the lowest tap in this general area of the house, I've turned on other taps in the area and let them drain out until the water stops coming. But there's probably going to be some leftover water in this pipe, so I'm just going to, as I say, because it's the lowest pipe, so what I'm going to have to do here is just kind of open the pipe, the tap up, let the water out. Because I have space considerations here, I'm just going to use a small container, fill that, and keep doing that until basically no water comes out. Okay, so pretty much all of the water has been drained. See if I turn that. That's turning it off there. A little bit might drip back down in the pipe. If I turn it on, that's pretty much drained. So what we do now is we put our tubing, I'll straighten this out here, tube cutter in place. As I say, if you're not quite sure how to use one of those, just I have a video on that. Now what we have to make absolutely sure we do is cut this pipe so that there's more than an inch coming out, because our push-on fitting is going to need at least an inch. So don't cut too much of your pipe away. And basically what we're going to do is just taking our time, go around like that. I'm going to move rags in here to get that water. And start cutting that pipe. I may not be able to hold this camera and do it. I don't think I am. So we're going to cut that pipe off. So check the instructions for your solderless push-on fitting. In the case of mine, it's an inch that should go up the pipe. So take a ruler or measuring tape, whatever, put it against the pipe and make a mark. I won't be able to hold the camera and do that, but I'll show you the mark in a moment. So here's our 1 inch mark. Hopefully you can see that up by the tip of my finger there. So that is approximately where our fitting should go up that pipe. So as I say, refer to your instructions for this unit, but the ones I've used have all seemed to have been an inch, but if you end up with something different, it'll tell you in the instructions for the push-on fitting. So then just very kind of carefully positions over the pipe and ease it on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop taping here, because I really don't like to put too much pressure on anything without holding it in place. So I'm going to push this on but hold this pipe back here, and I can't do that with the camera in my hand. As per the instructions, the push-on fitting did go just about exactly an inch up the pipe. Hopefully you can see the mark on the copper pipe there, and that the push-on fitting went right up to it there. Okay, so at this point, once this is on and the tap is in the off position, which in the case of my fitting is the tap pointing this way, once you've got this all on, then, and by on I mean in place, but the tap off, you can turn on the water supply to the house. If you have somebody handy, it might be good to have them watch here at the hose, just to verify that when you turn on the water to the house, there's not water spraying everywhere. So what I wanted to do was, just before I hooked this onto the toilet, verify that my tap is operational. Now, as I say, the reason this whole thing started for me is that I'm putting new flooring here. So I'm willing to take a bit of water over the floor, but because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on the water here just to verify that before I get this all hooked up to the toilet that it is operational. So I'm just going to very gently turn that on. Hopefully without getting my camera wet here. These push-on fittings actually turn on the pipe, so I got to kind of keep that in place. And there you go. So that's working. Now that I know that, I will connect this piece to the bottom of this toilet. So we have our connection to the toilet made. Our braided hose is going down to our tap, which we already verified has got water pressure to it. Check that it's not leaking. So now we turn that tap on. And we can hear the toilet filling up. So what I'm going to do is let the toilet fill. I'm going to dry up the whole area down here and just verify that there is no leaks. I'll check on it every now and again. Anytime after a job like this, always a good idea just to see if any leaks have developed. But as I say, I'll make sure everything is good and dry, so that way I'll know that if I see any water, it's caused by a leak. That's about it for this process.